Hello again, everybody. Welcome to our first session from the new course, Astrology, Physiology of the Soul. This is an introductory lecture in which we will talk about some general principles. They are spiritual, esoteric, astrology principles, which are very important, whether you want to learn astrology for yourself and explore your own chart, or if you are interested in doing this as a way to serve other people and turn this into a career. In both cases, those principles will help you a lot. And for those of you who are new, my name is Marina Stoichkova. I'm from Bulgaria. I've been doing astrology for 9 years, since 2013. This is my main passion, my main career for years now. My vocation, for sure. I have other interests as well, mainly in the area of psychology and specifically the Jungian psychology, Carl Jung's psychology, which has a lot to say about the archetypes, and there seems to be a very nice connection between astrology and Jung's psychology. So in this course, I will add some of this knowledge as well whenever it's appropriate. Also, I'm interested in mythology, and this is another thing which is very helpful to understand astrology better, and numerous other healing methods, and you name it, family constellations, energy practices, all of that is very interesting for me. And I would say everything which helps the person. And astrology was really the first thing on my path, and I would say still the most important one. This is the tool that may help you to understand yourself, your life lesson, to understand overall how the world works, to understand other people. So I cannot share really my gratitude for the people who have taught me. I have been trained by the Moscow Academy of Astrology. I have been through a 5-year course, so it was pretty intense. And I'm eternally grateful for this knowledge. So in my work, I will present to you this system, which is Western astrology based. We are using the tropical zodiac. We are using mostly the Placidus house system. If those things are unfamiliar to you, don't worry. We will have enough time to explain them. What else? So during this course, we will have sessions twice a week, and they will be live. Of course, also recorded and available to watch for 1 year. So no worries if you cannot join us every time, or if you have other things, that's totally fine. And the interesting thing about this course is that we will spend a lot of time on practice with real charts, and specifically yours. Nothing is obligatory, so if you don't want to participate in that, that's totally fine. We won't force you to show your chart or analyze it or anything. But if you want to go on this journey and really dive into your own chart, that would be a great place for you. So, of course, we will have some theory and also practice with the students' charts. Maybe we'll explore famous people's charts. We'll see how it goes. And I'm pretty excited about this journey that we are starting together. So for today, I want to introduce you to some of the principles which I have collected and tried to synthesize them so that you have a clearer idea of what we are doing here. And even if someone doesn't want to sign up for the course, this is still a very nice place to start and to just consider those principles. So I would like to start with actually talking about something which can be a little bit of a misconception. So do you think that astrology explores how the stars are affecting the human, or the planets, or the skies? Do you think that that is what astrology is doing? Because I may shock you, but I will tell you that this is not what astrology is about. And sometimes in our astrology language, we do tend to say this. You will even hear me say this occasionally. Saturn may bring you this, Uranus may bring you that. It's kind of an easier expression, but it's technically not true. And this is not what astrology is exploring. Astrology is exploring the primary principles of the world that we live in, both the physical and the spiritual world. And those primary principles are affecting different things on different levels. This is essential to understand that there are different levels, which we are going to talk about in a moment. So one of those levels represents the planets. You may even include fixed stars, but overall, those objects, astronomical objects that we observe. But this is important to understand. It doesn't mean that Saturn is doing something to us or for us, or Pluto or any of the other planets. We are using the planets as a guidance. And I will give you a very interesting example. So obviously we are measuring time, and we are using our clocks. But so when you look at the clock, you understand what time it is, right? But it's not the clock that is actually making the time or changing time or moving time. This is just a tool that helps us to measure the energy. The same goes for the temperature and basically anything else that we can measure. So we have tools that allow us to measure those, but it doesn't mean that they are causing whatever is happening, the time or the temperature or anything else. So this is important in astrology as well. The planets or the stars are symbolically like our clock. We can use it to understand, to explore those general principles. And they just represent the changes which are happening on the different levels. And this gets me to the second thing which I want to talk about, the horizontal and the vertical thinking. So let me explain what that means. Horizontal is, for example, when we explore things like a cat, a mouse, a dog, a snake, a bird. Overall, we may say, yes, all of those are animals. Pretty obvious. So this is the horizontal thinking. The vertical thinking connects things that may look like have nothing in common if you are unaware of the esoteric principles and all of that. For example, let's take the color black. Then I forgot the name of particular metal, but some kind of metal. Then also death and sorrow, and I can list other things. So those seem to be like unconnected, but that's only because we are looking at them in a horizontal way. From the vertical perspective, all of those would belong to the principle of Saturn. Or another thing could be the color red, the element of, or the actual fire energy. It could be the gallbladder, and many other things which we may include. Those would be the principle of Mars. So the vertical thinking connects things from different levels which belong to the same principle. So each principle we may find in, for example, if we explore the plants, then the animals, then the human experience, metals, the weather, basically everything in life can be put into a particular level. So astrology uses the planets as one of those levels that can guide us into understanding what we can find on the other levels as well. So this is very important. They are not making anything to us. They are just one of those layers which we are exploring. They say that if someone observes the interaction, I think the example was with chickens. If you spend a lot of time paying attention to how chickens are interacting and what is happening with them, you may get an idea also about the principles, and you may start to use that as a way to understand different levels. For example, when the mosquitoes or the flies are starting to bite during the summer, we know, oh, it's probably gonna rain. So this is just one principle that we are using to understand what is the energy, what might happen. So this is the way we use the planets. We explore them, and from there we understand what is the energy, but they are not the actual cause. They aren't making anything for us. And this gets me to another idea, which is about time. So time is essential in life, but even more in astrology. So in astrology, we say that the timing of something, the time when something begins, includes the whole potential, includes even the end, what the actual end would be of that thing. It might be an activity we are starting. It might be a baby, a person which is born. I don't know, it could be publishing a book, basically anything. But the personal, the individual astrology, of course, is using the time of birth. And specifically the time of the first breath. This is considered to be the time when the chart is activated. And what we do is that at this particular time, when the baby is born, we are taking a picture of how the planets are placed at the sky. And in this way, we might explore the time of birth. So this is what we call quality of time. So obviously quantity of time is, again, quite understandable. It could be a day, it could be a week, a year, a decade. But time also can be measured by quality, not only by quantity. And through astrology, we are exploring the quality of the time. So at each particular time, we have a specific quality. And events which are in harmony, or in other words, they represent the same principle as the quality of the time, may happen at this particular time. Events which are following a different principle will not be possible for this time. So this is very interesting, and this allows us, as I said, to explore the quality of time. And here there is another interesting idea as well, again related to time. So it says that the time of birth and the actual circumstances in the process of birth are also describing the whole life. So just like, for example, if we are playing a song and we play one note per day. So one note today, one the next day, then another one and another one. We won't be able to catch the real song. It's just too spread over time. Well, during the birth, we have the opposite happening. So instead of like stretching the song of life symbolically, it's all coming together. So from one point of view, this is our horoscope, the picture of the skies, which we are using to understand what is the quality of this time. This will guide us into what would be the personal characteristic of this person, what would be the important life themes, what is the potential, all of that. But from that point of view, it's also interesting to analyze as much as we can how the actual birth process has went. Was it on time? Was it premature birth or induced with delay, stressful, very slow, very fast? What kind of complications were there? Was there a separation with the mother? What was the family situation at this point? So if we can combine all of those signs and experiences, this can also give us another perspective about the quality of the time. And in other words, also what will be important for this person, what would be some important themes in their life. Okay, let's move on to my next point, which is about the conscious and the subconscious learning. So our experience here on the earth is meant to be like some kind of school for our souls. So it's a place where we can grow and evolve and follow our path. But our perspective can change a lot about the actual experience. So we might learn our life lessons consciously, or we may learn them subconsciously. And if we learn them subconsciously, very often that equals sorrow, pain, difficulties. if we are open to learn our lessons consciously, it might be like a completely different story. So this is very important, and here astrology can be extremely helpful. Because again, when we explore the chart and we keep in mind what we know about the different levels, and again, the importance of the principles, we may understand, for example, that we have some kind of Saturn lesson, let's say. And we might be blind about this, or we might be really unaware about it, or we may not want to participate in that consciously, kind of like resisting this. So what we might expect in this situation is that life will bring some limitations for us. Life will put us in the corner. Something will be taken away from us, or we will be pushed, or we will experience some kind of lack. So some of the main Saturn principles. But, and again, here astrology is extremely helpful. We may also understand this by exploring the chart and see, okay, I have some Saturn lessons here. Let me participate in that. And we might be consciously involved in this. And yeah, we may participate. So instead of waiting for things to happen and just feel sorry for ourselves or blame destiny or whatever, we can kind of like step up and decide, okay, let me become more reasonable, more responsible. Let me commit to a strict schedule. Let me cut off some of the unhealthy things, for example, not eating sugar or not eating after 7 p.m. So by knowing the principle of Saturn, we may use this to work it on another level and do it consciously. And when we do that, Saturn won't need to put us in the corner. We are already committed to learning the lessons. So this is one of the greatest benefits of astrology, and one of the practical ways actually to make your life better and yet keep growing. So here we are not promising a cloudless future in which you won't need to put any effort. Everything will just show up in front of you. Those are not promises that we can make. But what we can do is we can learn how to participate and learn the lessons in a constructive way, but usually much less painful. And again, we are still growing. We are still evolving because we are committed to those principles. We cannot make those principles disappear. So if you have a Saturn or a Pluto or any other, lesson to learn, and we do have many of those, every one of us, we need to learn those lessons. So astrology can help a lot with that. So my recommendation is to embrace the conscious learning. Okay, next principle I want to talk about. Yeah, the importance of the whole. So, you know how the traditional modern Western medicine is looking at the body partially. So this is my heart and my liver and my brain, and we have specialists for those separately, and we look at them like single parts. Well, from a holistic point of view, obviously that doesn't work like that. Everything is connected within our body. And the different levels are also connected: the physical, the emotional, psychological, mental, and there are others above that as well. So we have those connections as well. Again, they are the vertical connections. On top of that, we have connections also with other people, with our family, then the society we are part of, or the community, then the nation, then the whole humanity. So, and everything works together. Probably also the whole earth is like one organism and the planets are other organisms. And maybe there is something even bigger than that, probably. But it's important to understand that just like your heart doesn't work on its own separately from everything else which happens with your body, with your mind and emotions, the same is also true in the horoscope. So, and this is actually one of the biggest challenges, but also most fulfilling things, to learn how to look at the chart as a whole. So you might take your books and find what it means if your moon is in Cancer, if your moon is squared by Saturn, if this and that. Those are like the cookbook interpretations. And I'm not saying we don't need those, we definitely do, but this is a starting point. Then we need to learn how to put all of this together. What would mean if, for example, the moon is in Cancer squared by Saturn in Aries or Saturn in Libra? We would still have the same moon sign, the same aspect, but Saturn would be in a different sign. And how would that work, for example, if the person has a dominant water element or a dominant fire? So this is what I call the art of astrology, to learn, basically to interpret the chart holistically. And this is when your interpretations will be really like accurate and spot on. Because otherwise, sometimes you might be right, but other times you might get lost because you are missing the connections between the different indications. So just like the body, our life is not a separate thing from everything else. Or in other words, we have also the principle of the hologram, like every single part includes the whole, and the seed has the potential of the whole tree or whatever it is. The same is true also for the chart. So for this, you need to be patient. We all need to be patient because it takes time until we learn how to do that. But this is our purpose, to learn how to work with the chart as something alive, because it is alive. It represents a person, a real person. I'm talking about the individual chart, the chart of a person. So yes, we do need the technicalities. So I'm a Capricorn sun person with Mercury in Capricorn. I actually a whole stellium in Capricorn. So I do like the foundation, like the basics, and I don't like the word boundaries, but we really need this sometime. So we need this foundation. You need to be very familiar with the signs, the energy of the planets, the aspects, all of that. But once you master that, then there is the rest of the work, which turns more into an art. And this is, again, learning to look at the chart as something alive and how to put everything together. Of course, here the intuition would play an important role. Obviously, if someone has this as a gift, that would be easier. But this is also something that we can work on. And even people with already strong intuition, they are still working on that. They still have some room to grow. So intuition plays an important role. Another thing which plays a really important role is our attitude and intention. So, yeah, I have this principle somewhere at the end, but my thought is going there, so I will talk about it now. It's about commitment to the truth, first of all. So when we look at the chart, we need to be searching for the truth. If you want to lie to yourself, or I don't know, find some kind of delusional explanation or whatever, that's your choice, of course. But if you want to do some real astrology, then you need to be open and also searching for the truth. So it takes also time. It's not that easy, especially when it's about yourself or people that you love or who are close to you. But having an open mind and seeking for the truth is essential. And for that, something which helps a lot is to keep a neutral state. Not easy for sure. By neutral, I mean to be fine with whatever the chart presents you. Sometimes the chart, and actually every chart, will show you some difficulties and will show you some good potential, maybe talents and other positive things. So, and I will talk about the positive and negative in a moment, but that's, for a little bit later. So with a neutral with a neutral position, we are much more open to see the truth. Otherwise, we are not helpful. If you insist on finding something positive, finding an excuse or something that will make you or the person you are interpreting the chart of very happy, this is not that okay, because it will distort, it will manipulate what you are interpreting. So it will be maybe a beautiful lie. Of course, we don't need to do the opposite for sure. We shouldn't approach this as coming out of fear or worries or anything like that. This is probably even worse. So keeping a neutral state and being fine with whatever is presented. That is the way that you can get to the truth. And then when you get to the truth, you can use this knowledge about finding the principle and then searching for the different ways in which you can use the principle so that you make it kind of like a conscious decision. So we'll talk about, of course, there are countless examples that we may find, but this is truly essential for having the right mindset, basically. So the right mindset is really important. From a more kind of like a technical perspective, what I would recommend you is to, before you get to reading an astrology book, interpreting a chart or whatever, commit to making a very short relaxation or concentration like the one we started with at the beginning. So just for a minute or two, relax the mind. This also really helps with opening up yourself to be a channel of the knowledge that can be presented to you and also through you. So that is essential. We will talk a lot about this too, interpreting the chart as a whole. And again, I want to remind you again, look at the chart as a whole, as a living organism. Our next point is about the level of consciousness, essential knowledge that we need to have. So what it means is that depending on the level of consciousness of the person, the different principles may work in different ways. Or with other words, the chart will work differently for them. So generally, we explore 3 levels. We have the physical or material level, we have the emotional level, and then the mental level. And if someone is not that evolved yet, and I'm saying this with understanding, with love, and it's totally fine. So we have all started there. Some people and some souls are more evolved, others are not there yet. So everything is fine. It's not about blaming someone or I don't know, feeling sorry or something like that. But we do have people and souls on different levels. And the lower the evolutionary level of the soul is, first of all, the easier it will be for you to interpret the chart. The easier it will be for you to make accurate predictions, because all of the things which are indicated by the planets will be presented on a material level. And the more evolved the soul is, the more difficult it might be to interpret that, because first of all, if someone is on a higher level than you won't be able to read their chart properly. The second thing is that the higher the level is, in a way, the more unpredictable it is to understand on which level this principle will work. So let's say, let me think of example. Okay, Saturn in conjunction with Mercury. Yes, that would be a nice example. Saturn in conjunction with Mercury. So on a very material level, this may bring issues with the speech, someone doubting their intellect, someone who has problems with communication, who cannot open to talk, who doesn't like too much talking, who has a lot of judgmental thoughts, critical thoughts. So it's more clear. But the same aspect may work on different levels if the person is more evolved, or the soul is more evolved, I should say. So, for example, this same aspect may also bring a very logical mind. Someone, who just don't like empty talk, but at the same time, when they talk, they say meaningful things. They keep their promises, so their word means something. They have a very practically working mind. They are science-oriented. So for every principle in astrology, and basically for every indication in astrology, depending on the evolutionary level of the soul, it might be presented in different ways. Saturn will always be Saturn, as well as Pluto will be Pluto and all of that. So Saturn won't turn into the Sun or Venus. So it won't be a joyful talk or, something which is not part of the Saturn principles, but it will present some of the expressions from the higher levels of the same principle. This is also true for prediction. When we are making a prediction, this is even more important there. So the more the lower the level of evolutionary growth is, the more each indication will be presented on a material level, whatever that might be, in whatever method, in transits, in progressions, everything. But when the soul is more evolved, she may process things on an emotional level or even on a mental level. And on the material level, it may look sometimes, okay, well, nothing seems to happen. Everything looks the same from the outside. But on the inside, the person and the soul is working with this either on an emotional level or the psychological, the mental level. So we need to consider this and to know this, that the chart and each indication in the chart might be working on different levels. And this is also good news for us, especially for those who search for solutions and, want to make changes with their life or want to grow more consciously. Again, we can explore those principles and we can see, okay, this may work in that way on a material level, but how can I use this for my emotional growth or on a mental level? So completely different story. And we need practice for this. So this isn't something that you will be able to catch immediately. It takes practice and it's totally fine. But what you need also, something that comes to my mind now is you need to have trust. And that's especially about yourself. You need to trust yourself. Of course, it doesn't mean, don't learn, don't listen to experts, just go in your own way. No, I mean that you need to trust yourself, that you will learn, that you will get to the truth. Again, the attitude and your state really matter. When you have serious intentions to learn astrology, it will work for you. Serious intentions and lots of passion. That's what you need. Of course, there's also work involved, but that's, part of it. But the passion is very important. So I personally fell in love with astrology, and I have seen many people who also are falling in love with astrology. And once you do that, it's kind of like a love story, for a lifetime. You might have some occasional affairs, but this will be like your true love story. And when you do this work with your heart, you will get some amazing results. I want to tell a story which I know from my teacher. He was talking about how astrology is an occult science, which it is. Occult meaning a secret science, a secret knowledge, a knowledge that not everyone is allowed to get to. And someone said, well, how can that be true? Astrology is everywhere. Open the newspapers, the websites, YouTube. It's everywhere. You can learn about Aries and Taurus and Cancer and all of that. Yeah, this is like a really well-kept secret. The magazines and like the popular astrology, it's only the surface level. Very, very, like small part of it. And it seems, oh yeah, well, that's astrology. Those are the signs and the planets. It's clear. Yeah, it looks like that. But when you are committed and dedicated, you can get to the real depths of astrology. And for that, spiritually, you need to be allowed to get there. And if you are committed and if you have passion and if it's the right path for you, you will get there and you will see how funny sometimes, the super level may look like to you. So astrology has incredible depths. And to get there, you need commitment. Again, from my teacher, he said, first of all, astrology is learned over many incarnations. So this is something that we can't learn for 1 year or even for one lifetime. We learn it for lifetimes, which is great. It means there is always more to learn and to be fascinated with and all of that. So this also means that you have to be gentle with yourself. With a more human life measures, it's considered that it takes 12 years. 12 years because this is one Jupiter cycle. It takes 12 years for Jupiter to return to the same spot, the same zodiac position. It doesn't mean that you won't be able to use it before. I have started working as an astrologer years before this, but just know that it's a long journey. And the more time passes, the more you grow, the better and the deeper your understanding will be. And at certain point, you will be able to feel the chart. So this is also something I'm encouraging people and trying to help them and teach them. Not only to look at the chart as something static and something dry and, oh, those are the positions, let's go. It's great to learn to feel the chart. And again, it takes time, but it can be very, very helpful. And it's also an incredible journey. Okay, let me see where I am. Okay, we talked about the level of consciousness, the level of manifestation. Yes, the next point, the good and bad. Also, one of my favorite. Again, in a regular astrology talk, you will hear, this is a very nice aspect. Oh, if you have the sun in conjunction with Jupiter, oh, this is so good, so positive for you. It's amazing. Or if you have the moon in conjunction with Saturn, oh, that's very unfortunate, poor you, lots of frustration, it's very bad. From a spiritual perspective, from the perspective of the soul, there is no good and bad. Everything which exists is there because we need it. So I'm consciously trying, and sometimes failing, but still trying to avoid those words, good and bad. We might say, okay, this seems to be more challenging. The other thing seems to be more going with the flow or harmonious. Yeah, I use this word a lot. But bad and good are labels which are very often so inaccurate. Because we may find, and here again, we need to know, or we need to consider the level of consciousness and evolutionary growth of the soul. So an aspect or indication which is traditionally considered to be good, if the soul is on a very low level, they may waste this potential. It may not work, in a constructive way for them. And the other way around, if the soul is evolved, even those considered to be like bad, negative indications may actually turn out to be very constructive and can help them to create great results. So for me, this is something very, let me find the word. It brings me comfort and relief, because again, it means that the way you use the energies is essential. And depending on what you do, also the chart will work differently. In other words, this also means that we do have some personal will. Yes, we do. So another thing is that I will search for a story. It's like a tale, something like that, about the good and bad. So I will try to paraphrase it very quickly. Like, okay, no, I won't go there. It will take a lot of time and I won't do it properly. But there was a tale in which something happens in the kingdom and it looks like it's something very bad. And the wise man said, bad or good, we'll see, we don't know. Then happens the opposite, something really good and people are very happy. And he says, well, we'll see, good or bad. So eventually what seemed to be good turned out to be something bad. What seemed to be bad turned out to be something good. So when we are in the experience, very often it's difficult to evaluate it. Eventually, everything is necessary. So it might sound over optimistic, but I think that eventually everything is good because we need it. It's an experience, it's a lesson, it's part of our growth. So you don't need to approach astrology with fear or to feel like it's like everything is pre-written and predetermined and I'm just the victim. We are never ever the victims. Astrology works and embraces with the idea about incarnations and karma. And from that point of view, everything in the chart, by the way, is karmic. So everything is like a consequence of the past, the good and bad, both. This doesn't mean that if you have challenging indications, you should say, oh, what a horrible person, I deserve this, I must have done bad things. Let me tell you something. We have all done bad things. If you consider what is the human history through centuries and even before that, there is so much violence, there are so many wars, and we have had incarnations during those times. So we have all made some mistakes. That's why we are here on the earth. But we can have this approach or attitude that we will do the best that we can right now. So it means don't feel sorry for your challenging indications. Don't blame yourself. I think that this is one of the most helpful things for me that astrology gave me. And it was about self-acceptance and understanding. You see that when you explore your own chart, which I highly recommend, you just find that everything happens for a reason. Your bad personal qualities that you are judging yourself for, the difficult events that have happened to you, it can be found in the chart. And it also means that you were supposed to get through those experiences and they're part of your lesson, of your path of evolution, everything. So yeah, we need to be open to, again, open for the truth, even and actually, especially when it comes to our own charts, and find the constructive ways to use the energies. But again, there are no victims. Everything happens for a reason. Okay, let me see. Yes, the next point I seem to I mentioned it a little bit about the free will, but let me talk about it a little bit more. Destiny and free will. So one of the greatest teachers, spiritual teachers, he is a Bulgarian, no longer in the physical world, Bain Sadunu. By the way, he uses this expression, which I used for the name of the course, Astrology, Physiology of the Soul. I really respect his work. So he is amazing. And he says that 50% is, I don't want to use the word predetermined, but like it's there. Or in other words, I would say it's the actual chart. 25% is the environment, the times, and where, when we live, the culture, the atmosphere, the environment. And another 25% is what we do, our actions. But he says, if you do your 25%, you can change the rest as well. So yes, I do believe that we have personal will. I do think that it's different for different people. So the lower the evolutionary level, the more it's kind of like a corridor. You need to get through this. You are getting there one way or another. And usually it's one way. The more evolved we are, the more choices we seem to have. It's also, of course, consider that before we incarnate here, our chart is like, the commitment we have made, or it's our universal passport. So we are coming here with concrete tasks or lessons that we need to learn, and we have agreed to that. Our soul has agreed. And based on that, we can say that we have had some kind of choices, but there are also like directions that we need to follow. So obviously this is not a simple team or, something that we can be sure of. Of course, we may have doubts. Okay, but who said that? How do they know? My partner would say, what are the hard evidence? Bring them, show them. He is a very practical person, yeah. But seriously, yeah, this is, of course, an area of exploration. But my understanding is we have committed to something. We have tasks here to complete, to follow. We do have choices. There might be different ways to achieve a particular goal or to learn a particular lesson. And I think that here is where our real free will is. So again, if we go back to the principles, so you are supposed to embrace or learn or master the principles of Venus, let's say, the principle of love. In what way you are going to do that? There are different paths to get there. So I think that here is where our free will is, to choose consciously the way to get to our task or our lesson. Okay, and the next thing I want to talk about is about the attention you should pay to yourself. So just like psychologists and therapists, they are getting through the process themselves before they are practicing with clients and patients. We need to do the same with our charts. And I'm saying this for those who would like to practice this professionally. So you really need to know yourself very well and to know your chart and to explore it and dive deep into it. So it's not selfish. It's not, I don't know, I have heard different explanations, but I don't agree with that. I think it's essential. I think that with time, you need to know your chart. Like we say, we have an expression, even if they wake you in the middle of the night, you should know that, something like that. It's strange translation, but yeah, you do need to get very familiar with your chart. It takes time, and it will take each of you different time, which is perfectly fine. But this is how, first of all, you will learn astrology much better. And second of all, you will learn more about yourself. And those are some of the greatest experiences, actually. To learn about ourselves, to understand ourselves. It's essential. So that's why this will be such a significant part of our work in the course, to practice and to look at our charts with an open mind from a neutral place, very important, and to see, yeah, and to admit and embrace it. This is me, those are my flaws, those are my strengths. What can I do about it? Okay, so I think that those are the first principles that we are going to start with. 11 principles. I'm really excited for this journey, and yeah, you will see for yourselves. So if you have any comments, please type them in the chat. I would love to answer them. And for those who haven't signed up for the course, you can still do that. Let me know. Okay, we have some comments. This is simplistic, but with quality of time concept. If someone has many hard aspects, would one think the quality of their lifetime would be diminished? It depends on the, it depends is the short answer. You will find that very often I will need to answer with something like this. It depends on the chart, show me the chart, and we'll explore it. It's very difficult to generalize and kind of like say something that will be accurate no matter what. Someone with many hard aspects could be a person who has a grand cross configuration. If you don't know it, don't worry, we'll explore it. The grand cross configuration includes at least 4 squares and 2 oppositions. That is pretty tough. At the same time, this is one of the configurations of highly evolved souls. It's, the cross is a symbol from Christianity, and there is a meaning of usually, sacrifice, doing something. It's usually a soul which has evolved a lot, and a soul which has many important tasks here. So it will work one way, and we might have another chart in which there are no close configurations. There are only those chaotic squares and oppositions, or even if they're not chaotic, they're not that well organized, it will work differently. So it's, again, hard to be accurate with and give a general answer that will be true. Let me see. My Capricorn moon feels comfortable and at ease with your teaching style of getting the foundation established well and build from there. My Gemini Rising and Mercury will learn patience. Yeah, patience is necessary. So, yeah, patience is essential. How do you tune into a person's evolutionary level without knowing them? For example, first reading for a stranger. You need practice for this. As I told you, this is not something that can be like, okay, give me 1 hour, I will teach you, you will know how to do that. It takes, again, practice. It takes also developing a sense about it. And before that, you will need to communicate with people and charts and try to kind of like get there slowly on your own, or maybe not slowly, maybe someone can do it faster, but usually it's yeah, it takes time. There are some there is knowledge, of course, which we can use, but it's like a more advanced thing, so you cannot start from there. Yeah, there are things that may help. We can evaluate the status of the whole chart, like the status of all of the planets. And again, here, this is essential. We need to be able to put everything together. So for example, let's say, oh, this person has a very accentuated moon, but their Saturn is so blocked and kind of like problematic. This person might be, let's say, immature, needy, emotionally going through lots of instability. On the other side, someone more evolved, let's say Saturn is also strong and the moon is strong. This might be a person who actually takes care of others, who is responsible, who is nurturing. So yeah, there is no simple answer how you do that. You get there slowly. And again, with the holistic approach, this is like the most important. You do need to look at everything in a combination, as a combination. I have a hard time finding the truth in anyone else's chart but mine or those I know, because I know the context of their life. In a 1 hour reading with a stranger, how could I possibly get to know them well enough to see the truth in their chart? If it frustrates me. First of all, we are totally allowed to communicate with the person. So when I'm doing a reading for a person, the first thing I ask them is, please tell me your questions and your situation. So I'm not trying to be a fortune teller, to guess, to, I'm asking for the context, like someone asking for relationships. Okay, please let me know. Are you single? Are you married? What is the case? Someone searching for a job. Do you currently work? Are you in a rush? So I do ask for context and what is the actual situation. And first of all, it's like helpful in a very practical way, like you have a starting point. Second of all, when the person is sharing something with you, you learn how to relate to this and to connect to this. And you kind of get a feeling and an idea of, who they are, what is happening. A great thing also to do, especially when you have more time, is to do a retrospective analysis. So to look at the chart, especially if someone is interested in prediction, is to look at the chart and to try to understand what has happened in the past and when. And this way you can get an idea, okay, what happened when you had your first Saturn return? Oh, I got married, or I lost my job. Okay, you get an idea. This is how Saturn works in this chart. So you can go in this retrospective analysis to understand how the person has worked with the planets so far. And this can help you to get a better idea of what may happen, for example, when Saturn makes another aspect or whatever, something else happens in the chart. Here again, I might be a little annoying with this, but it is about the practice. And yeah, the connection with the person really helps. You will learn, even sometimes I work with recordings and the client send me like a written information. You will start to recognize the patterns. The way they present their situation and their questions will also give you a hint. Some people are so chaotic in the way they present it, like no real sentences. It's like almost no punctuation, or it's like, you know, a recorded talking, not really structured. Other people are very organized, and you see how, yeah, they are very structured. So this will also help you to recognize the patterns. Sometimes I have had cases when, for example, a client, let's say a week after they have purchased the reading, and they send an email, please let me know what is the status of my reading, when can I expect this? And even though it says that it takes around 3 weeks or so, I have told them, or it says on the form, it takes 3 weeks to get your reading, but they are impatient. And right at that point, I know, okay, this person has some Mars issues, whether Mars is in first house or with the sun or whatever. So from the communication, you may start to, you know, understand the person from the smallest things, the way they communicate with you, the way they express themselves, the questions they are asking. So if someone asks you for their spiritual growth, this is immediately a sign that this person is not just interested in the material world. So everything can be a hint, like everything. And we need to train ourselves to read through that as well. And again, having the attitude that you are doing the best that you can with what you have at this particular moment. You never know what is actually your role. Sometimes your role could be to say something which may look like it's wrong, but that is the exact thing that the person needed to hear. So you need to have this trust that you are at the right place doing whatever you need to do. So, yeah. I spend so much time with my patients as a psychologist that I see the layers in people over time. And that is how I deepen my understanding of them. Yes, yes, absolutely. With time, we can see that. It seems I would need several hours talking to someone first before I could even attempt to accurately interpret their chart past the basic cookie cutter style, but this is not feasible for a professional astrologer. Well, what can I say? You need to practice. First of all, no one is doing that right away. Like, at first you are really staring at the screen or the book, and you're trying to, you know, I remember when I was getting started with astrology, but like the very, very beginning, and I was trying to learn the symbols. I haven't learned the glyphs, which planet, what is this? Is this Venus or Mercury, or what are those lines? And I thought, okay, once I get those technicalities, once I remember this is Venus, this is a trine, and this is whatever, everything will be clear. Guess what? It didn't work, and it never works like that. So yeah, the technicalities are like the first things. Of course, we need to know the glyphs, but there is so much more than that. You use the word undeveloped in a YouTube. I found that to be such great language. Honestly, I can't remember where I said that, but yeah, if it resonates with you, I'm happy. In Chinese metaphysics, it is 1/3 of astrology, heaven's luck, 1/3 of free will, mankind luck, 1/3 for environment, earth's luck. These three form a triangle. That's an interesting perspective. Another perspective is also that even the environment reflects the chart and reflects what we are supposed to experience. So people in our lives, circumstances, the culture, the environment, they are like the representations or the form, which is kind of like the materialized plan, the idea of the chart. So from that point of view, we might say that it's all connected, like it's all working together. So of course, those are, I think, also philosophical questions. We can think about it and think about it. And this is great. The fact that we cannot find those hard evidence answers doesn't mean we shouldn't do, because this is how the mind expands, the consciousness expands. So yeah, it's interesting. How many classes will there be? I forgot the number, but I think something like 46, 47 classes, something like that. So until June, from January until June, we will have a spring break around Easter. And yeah, if everything is fine, we should be able to meet twice a week. Everything will be recorded, so everyone can watch whenever they want. So do you have any other questions or comments or shares? The classes will be Thursday and Saturday, 11 or 11:30 a.m. Eastern time. I'm saying 11:30 because my schedule is also changing and I am attending other classes myself. So based on that, I may need to move a little bit, but something like that. So of course you will know in advance, but 11 or 11:30 a.m. Eastern time, we should start. I have Saturn within 2 degrees of my ascendant and conjunct my moon. I've struggled with the aspect for so long, battling with it almost. I'm learning I need to work with it instead of resisting it. This class will show me how to do it in my own chart. Yeah, thank you for this question. This class will bring you whatever you are ready to accept, embrace, and work with. So, of course, my role as a leader, as a teacher, is to, open and keep the space for all of us, present the knowledge, the techniques, my experience, everything, my heart. But I can't do it for you. Like, everyone needs to participate. And the more committed you are, the more you will get from the course. So the general idea is to work with your own chart while you are learning astrology and to find answers. But again, here the intention, I think the right intention sounds like, let the right thing for me happen. So again, everyone needs a different intensity and can handle different intensity. For someone, this might be the time I will go all in and I will do that. I will be so committed, and like, it's really an intensive experience. For others, they may have their many other things happening on the side, but they still want to do this. So that is also totally fine. So yeah, whatever you need right now. And there is another idea also. It depends on the basket you are bringing with you. So I would like to recommend you to bring a big basket and to be ready to get more of those things for yourself. But I can't forcefully put the things in the basket. So yeah, we will all eventually get whatever we need right now. So we should have this faith in the plan. How long are the classes? Well, I want to say 90 minutes. I suspect sometimes, knowing myself, I may go a little bit over that. Sometimes it might be less. So yeah, it won't be on average, I want to say 90 minutes. Use the inner planets and the nodes, not the other planets. Nope. I'm using all of the planets. The 7 visible planets, the outer planets, the nodes, Lilith, and that's pretty much all you need. Not only to get started, but I think even to have a very good idea about the person. If you want to add other things, that should come later. So I recommend people to use this as a foundation. The 10 planets, the nodes, and Lilith. Chiron, I have so-so position about it. Up until recently, I didn't use it at all. It's an asteroid, so my perspective was, well, if we bring Chiron, we need to bring all the other asteroids. And at the same time, there might be some truth to this, but one thing I want to tell you for sure is that if something is a theme in the chart or in the person's life or in their evolutionary growth, you will be able to find it by using those indications, the 10 planets and the nodes. using Chiron or another asteroid, or I don't know, another midpoint or something, it won't be like the one thing that will bring the clarity. So for starters, I would recommend to really focus on those. Will the class have structured lessons, or do we take a person's chart for analysis from the start? No, it will be both. It will be, first of all, theory. Some sessions will be only theory, and others will be practice. Is this a foundational course? Yes. We are starting from the basics, and we will cover the whole natal astrology you need. So we have like a foundational module at first. We talk about the signs, then a module on planets in signs, then the aspects between the planets, and eventually the houses. So literally level by level, we are covering everything. And every 1-2 lectures, I have prepared the plan, the schedule, but approximately once in 2 theory sessions, we will have a practice one, during which we will talk particularly about your chart and what we have discussed. So, for example, the aspects of the sun. Okay, let's bring this chart and explore the aspects of the sun in this chart. So it goes one after another. Yes, just based on my chart, I noticed the theme is defined by 3-4 different aspects. Very interesting. Yes, this is one of the rules we have. So if you want to be sure that something is a theme, you need to find 3 indications for that. One indication is it may or may not happen, like a possibility. 2 indications is, okay, that seems to be more important. If you find 3 indications, then this is like, you can be certain that that is really presented. And for those important themes, you will be able to find the indications. So it won't be just one tiny detail in those asteroids or whatever that, you know, helps you to understand the whole situation. The important themes are found in many ways, in different ways. Okay, so if you don't have any other questions, I will leave you for now, and we will see each other on Thursday. We'll see, what time is this? Probably 11:30. I will put it in on the website, and shortly I will create the Telegram group so it gets easier to communicate. Great. So let's just concentrate for a moment again, just like we did at the beginning, to close the space. Okay. Have a beautiful week, everybody. Thank you so much for your time, and I'll see you next time. Bye.